What is going on, everybody? Let's go. Welcome in to Talkin BS. I'm your host, as always, Steven Zamora. And if you can, please follow me on Twitter at ZamoraBSD. Best place for any and all show updates. Today, we're bringing you another off-season preview. This time of the Phoenix Suns. Obviously, that's why you clicked on the thumbnail, right? And as you can see, if you're a subscriber, as you can see, I'm trying the hands-free approach this time. Hopefully you guys can hear me well. I'm going to try to project my voice a little bit so the mic picks it up easier, but hopefully this works. I did a sound check. Everything sounded good. So I hope this goes through well. I don't want to re-record this thing a million times. Now, if you are new here, this is how we're going to break this thing down, okay? We're going to go over the things that the Suns need to improve on. We're going to go over the tools you have at your disposal to improve on those things. We're going to look at the draft. We're going to go through some trade options. And we're going to look at free agency, of course, to see if there's any way we can improve on the margins. And at the end, we'll have a nice final 10-man rotation that hopefully everybody could be excited about going into next season. So, without further ado, let's get right into it because I yap too much and I make these videos way longer than I intend them to be. Let's get into it, the Phoenix Suns. So first, in order to figure out how we need to improve, we need to look at the things that we were bad at last year, right, as the Phoenix Suns. You were 11th in the league in points per game, 15th in points allowed per game, 28th in points in the paint, 25th in assist-to-turnover ratio, 27th in field goal attempts per game, 25th in three-point attempts per game, 30th in fourth quarter points, and 25th in turnovers. So pretty much every stat there just screams to me that you guys needed a point guard. The assist to turnover ratio, the turnovers period, right? Fourth quarter points, all this stuff. So we are going to start looking into that when we're looking ahead. I did some digging and found out that 55% of the turnovers that you guys had last year in Phoenix were passing turnovers. So basically 10% of those were sloppy passes. Another 10% were just deflected passes. So all that just leads me into believing that, like I said, this is just a bad point guard situation. You guys didn't have anybody who really set up the offense or anything like that. Guys just didn't get into the sets right, or you guys had scorers, right? Guys with score first mentality, bringing the ball up and trying to get people into sets and stuff like that. Devin Booker's a really good player, and he's a really good guard, and he can play point guard, but that's not the same as having a point guard. I mean, Vogel emphasized extra pass offense all year last year. He preached a style of offense where you kind of need a point guard, right? Extra pass offense. And then you brought in no point guards to actually play it. So let's look at ways that we can improve this roster now that we know where we are deficient at. You have the 22nd overall pick in the NBA draft. No picks in the second round. Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, and Nazir Little contracts are all tradable. Over $200 million in committed salaries for the 24-25 season, well above the second apron. You owe your 25, 27, and 29 first to Brooklyn and own the least favorable in 26, 28, and 2030. So that least favorable one is basically, I can't even remember all the teams. There's like 5 teams that are all vying for this pick, and basically you guys get the worst one out of all of them. So the draft is probably not a route that we're going to go here. Knowing the way this team runs, right? Knowing the way this front office runs, I just don't believe that they're going to start bringing in young talent now, especially in a draft that's not necessarily, known for being a great draft or anything. So I just really don't think that the front office is going to go that route. So in my opinion, I'm thinking we're going to trade that pick. But before we figure any of that out, let's look at things that the front office must take care of before we go further. We need to find a point guard that is going to put these guys in the best position to succeed. We need somebody who's going to set up the offense for them, take care of the ball first and foremost, right? Turnovers were such a big problem for the Suns last year. Who's going to get things going in the right direction. That includes building upon Bud's principles. Bud had a press conference when he first got hired on. He basically said he wants to play fast, he wants to play random, and he wants to get the ball moving. All these things, you just can't have, the same setup going into next year and expect to play that style. So continuity is another big factor, and that's just more about the core, right? We're not going to be able to move Bill's contract. Let's be honest, right? Nobody's going to take on Bradley Beal's contract. If you move KD or Booker, you're likely moving them for pieces that are just not as good as either of them. A big representation of this is Minnesota from the year before, right? I use this example a lot because Minnesota looked really bad, right? When they traded for Rudy Gobert, it took about a year for it to really come together. And now look how good they turned out to be. I think the continuity between your core is very important. So we're going to keep that core together while also trying to add some more positional size. Nurkic is one of the biggest players in the league, but across the board, we just need to add some more size in different positions. So like I said, I just don't believe that these guys are going to use that 22nd overall pick in the draft. I think they're going to trade it in order to find some pieces that fit the roster. And mainly what I want to try to find here is a point guard. This is the trade I came up with that I think is going to help both teams a lot. Yusuf Nurkic and the 22nd overall pick to Oklahoma City. And in return, Phoenix would get Josh Giddey and Kenrich Williams. So let's break it down for OKC first and why they do this. So OKC gets Yusuf Nurkic and the 22nd overall pick. So as far as draft picks wise, right, this is one of the few drafts that they have where they only have the one pick. They're drafting somewhere in the lottery. I think it's like 10 or something like that. So they get an extra draft pick in the first round. But the real prize here is Yusuf Nurkic. Nurkic, I think, is the exact type of center that they're going to need moving forward. He could play the 5, allowing Chet to kind of slide over and play off ball. A lot of teams are moving this way to where they're going to have a big burly center who's more capable in the low post, and then a real long, tall guy on the weak side to, protect the rim. That's perfect for Chet, right? That's a perfect role for Chet, at least until he bulks up. Nurkic can stretch the floor a little bit, so he's not going to interrupt the spacing of Oklahoma City. He can take on the bigger bodies that Chet isn't necessarily great at handling. He's a very, very good rebounder, so that's definitely going to help the rebounding issues in Oklahoma City. And he's, like I said, he's a very good passer, right? So ball movement, everything that Oklahoma City runs, he's going to fit in perfectly right there. I think that's just a seamless fit. You can run an SGA, Lou Dort, J-Dub, Chet, and Nurkic lineup for a majority of the season. And then when you have to go small ball, right, for the playoffs or something like that, then you can put him on the bench, bring in Isaiah Joe, bring in, some other guard or something, and go back to your more traditional Oklahoma City style play, right? But I think during the regular season, when you need bodies and you need bigs who can take on that load and keep Chet healthy throughout the regular season, I think that's going to be really important until he can bulk up and get that size needed to become a 5. Nurkic is on a 2-year contract. I think that's the perfect amount of time to give Chet the time to adjust to NBA center play. You get Josh Giddey and Kenrich Williams. So Kenrich Williams is your classic hustle guy. He's Kenny Hustle, right? He's going to be your guy who's going to just hustle on every play. He's going to die for loose balls. He's going to rebound. He's going to take on really good perimeter players on defense. And, he just does all the little stuff that, like, a team who's trying to win a championship needs those kind of guys, right? They need that. They need those extra efforts. They need those guys who are going to dive on the floor and fight and scrap for every ball. Then you also get Josh Giddey, who's going to be a perfect piece for how this team is going to run, right? I think Budenholzer is going to love this kid. First of all, he's a young kid. He still has a ton of development to go. He's still learning how to shoot, so he's not a very good shooter, right? A lot of guys were sagging off of him and stuff in the playoffs, but he's getting better at it. And then when he comes in, he's a very good ball handler. He takes care of the ball. He's going to be able to run your offense the way I was saying that you really need done in Phoenix. On defense, he can switch, all around. So in my opinion, you would have Giddey running the offense as the one on offense, but then on defense, he can guard threes. He can guard your 2s and 3s and 4s. If you really need him to move up and down the lineup, you want to move Booker to guard the point guards on defense, he can do that. Beal can slide over to guard the 2 guards on defense, and then Giddey can guard the bigger guys. I think he works offensively and defensively perfect for what Phoenix needs. But we're not done there yet, okay? I want to do another one because now we have a big hole at center. This one won't be able to be done until October when the season begins because of the way the contracts are constructed. But I'm going to move Grayson Allen to Orlando in exchange for Wendell Carter Jr. Wendell Carter Jr. brings a lot of what Nurkic brings to the table, right? He's a big body who can bang down in the low post. He's a decent passer. He's a decent rebounder. He can stretch the floor a little bit. He's actually a better shooter than Nurkic was, so he can stretch the floor a little bit more, but he's younger and on a cheaper salary. Move Grayson Allen to Orlando. Orlando does this because obviously they are one of the worst shooting teams in the league. They are looking for shooting desperately. They get the league's best shooter for a couple $1 million. They still get to keep a bunch of their salary space open. Wendell Carter Jr. just isn't a fit there anymore. He just doesn't do the things that they really need. In my opinion, I think they're actually going to try to go and get Nicholas Claxton because I think he's just a much better fit next to like Paolo and Franz and those guys. So then, you add a guy like Grayson Allen, you sign a guy like Nick Claxton, bam. Like you're in a great spot as Orlando. So with the two trades out of the way, let's look at free agency and the salary cap situation and everything going on with Phoenix because let's be honest, your books are a mess. So the real priority going into free agency is probably going to be re-signing Royce O'Neal. He was a big part of the rotation last year, and I think it's just really smart to try and go and get him before somebody else does. You got a bunch of player options on the table, right? You got like Eric Gordon, Josh Okogie, Damian Lee, Bol Bol's a free agent. Let them either pick up their option or let it go. Most of them are probably just going to let it go because they're not making that much money and they might be able to make some more somewhere else. I can see like Damian Lee picking up his option or maybe Josh Okogie, but chances are these guys could get some more money on the open market. So I'm assuming they're just going to go out in the open market and see if they can get anything bigger. So in that case, we are still going to be way over the cap. We're still going to be way over the luxury tax, and we're going to be way over the second apron. We're going to have to hit up some guys for some vet minimums and stuff like that to fill out the roster. I'm going to go ahead and try to re-sign Royce O'Neal and then look at some vet minimum guys that I think would like to come to Phoenix and see if they can try to win a ring around Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. So let's start with some guards first. Spencer Dinwiddie, Kyle Lowry, Reggie Jackson, Patrick Beverly, Cameron Payne, Killian Hayes. Lowry and Dinwiddie, I think, are some older vets that would take a minimum to try and play for a team that they think can win a championship. In my opinion, I would really go hard after Lowry. He's a point guard that you really could use on this team. He's a decent shooter. He knows how to run a team. He's done it for years and years. He's a little bit older. He's a little bit long in the tooth, but I think you need that kind of veteran presence, especially, with guys like Kevin Durant and stuff on the team, just to have some peers on the team with him. But if you want to go like on a younger route, Cam Payne and Killian Hayes, I think wouldn't be terrible options either. Killian Hayes kind of brings a lot of the same things to the table that Josh Giddey does. That might be a good fit, and just to have some depth. Now let's look at some, off-ball guards and wings. Malik Beasley, Eric Gordon, Luke Kennard, Josh Okogie, Evan Fournier. In my opinion, I would really go after Malik Beasley here. You're going to need some more shooting now that you traded Grayson Allen away. This team was not very good at three-point shooting throughout the regular season last year. So I think you're going to need some guys in there who are coming in and just hoisting threes. Malik Beasley is going to be great for that. You can always go and try to re-sign Eric Gordon. I think if he picks up his option and, is willing to come back for that like $3.5 million that he's on, that's perfectly fine. I'd be more than happy to have Eric Gordon back. But in my opinion, he's mainly who I'm talking about when I'm talking about guys who are like probably going to go out and hit the open market and make some more money. And we're going to need another backup big man because right now all we have is Wendell Carter Jr. on the roster. So let's look at some fives. Goga Bitadze, Drew Eubanks, Daniel Tice, Xavier Tillman, Luke Cornett. So Eubanks is a player option as well. If he decides to pick it up, bring him on back, that's fine. In my opinion, I want somebody who's going to be able to stretch the floor a little bit just so I could play that like 5-out option. The Suns actually played their best last year when KD was at the 5, so he can play some 5 as well. But I also don't want to play that a lot, at least until the playoffs, just to keep KD fresh, Really don't want to go out there and get him injured playing in a regular season game and banging in the post with guys like, Nurkic and, Jokic and guys like that. So in my opinion, I think we're really going to go hard after Xavier Tillman on this one. I think he'd be a perfect fit. You can play him at the 4 next to Carter Jr. if you really need to, but he can also play small ball 5. He's pretty good out on the perimeter for a big man. He can hit his threes. He's a tough guy, rebounder, gritty guy. I think you just need some more of that toughness too. And Xavier Tillman brings a lot of that. So now that we got all these guys signed, we got our trades done, let's look at this final rotation that we put together. We got Josh Giddey backed up by Kyle Lowry, Devin Booker backed up by Malik Beasley, Bradley Beal backed up by Kenrich Williams, Kevin Durant backed up by Royce O'Neal, and Wendell Carter Jr. backed up by Xavier Tillman. You got Nazir Little, David Roddy, Killian Hayes, Mo Bamba, Jeremiah Robinson Earl on the deep bench. So where I want to go first, here's the deep bench. I just want to explain it real quick because I haven't been able to go over it yet. These are all guys, between like Hayes, Robinson Earl, Mo Bamba, even Nazir Little, right? These guys are all, big but versatile, young defender guys. I think they're going to come in. They're going to be hungry. They're still raw for the most part. They're just going to take some more coaching. But if you can get any of these guys to contribute, I think that's huge for you guys. Basically look at these guys as like your prospects, and you bring in a bunch of guys who are going to bring some youthful energy to the team because this team's age is up there, right? You got guys like Kyle Lowry and KD on the team. So you want to bring in some of that youthful energy, guys who are going to play hard and mostly practice hard, try to push these old veterans and keep them on their toes pretty much. Between Josh Giddey, Kyle Lowry, and Killian Hayes, I think your point guard position is set. I think you got a lot of playmaking now. And hopefully the turnovers are a thing of the past. I think this could easily vault you guys into the top half of the league in turnovers per game. You keep the continuity of the big three of Booker, Bill, and KD. I think another year is going to be huge for those guys. Just learning how everybody played throughout the season and stuff like that, I think is going to be really big for them. And then you add Wendell Carter Jr. and Xavier Tillman as big men who are going to go in, be able to stretch the floor, rebound, and bring some real toughness to the team. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this. I hope you guys as Phoenix fans can really get excited about this rotation. I personally think like this can very much compete in the stacked West so that you don't have to play Minnesota in the first round or anything like that. You guys can have home court advantage, really have a much more productive regular season. Like I said, it just covers a lot of the weaknesses that you guys had last year during the regular season. But of course, right, people are going to disagree. If you wanted to keep that pick, let me know. If you wanted to keep Nurkic, let me know. If you wanted to keep Allen. If you think it's dumb that I traded, the best shooter in the league, of course, let me know. I'd love to hear it. I want to hear the discourse. So please let me know down in the comments. That'll really help a lot. Yeah, so if you do like this, though, please like and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to try to do one of these for every team before the draft in June. Thank you so much for making it through the entire video. I appreciate you guys so much. Y'all are amazing. To my subscribers, I love you guys so much. And Talkin BS, we out.